Hi, and welcome back to the second hour of this Monday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Congenial, convivial, and amiable as always. The program is Focal Point. The network is AFR Talk. Let's grab clip number one, if we can, Rob, to start this hour. Number to call if you'd like to join our conversation is 888-589-8840. Let's begin with clip number one. Michelle Obama was over in China lecturing the Chinese people about the importance of the free exercise of religion. And I thought to myself, man, she should have stayed home and delivered that speech to Barack, because this is exactly what is at stake tomorrow in the Hobby Lobby case. Now, this is interesting because Michelle's over there talking about internet freedom, in particular freedom of the press. No press was allowed to accompany her. Press was banned from her trip, and yet she's over there in China talking about how important freedom of the press is. Now, here is clip number one as she talks about her and Barack and their response to criticism from the media. Let's listen.
And that's why it's so important for information and ideas to flow freely over the internet and through the media, because that's how we discover the truth. That's how we learn what's really happening in our communities and our country and our world. And that's how we decide which values and ideas we think are best, by questioning and debating them vigorously, by listening to all sides of an argument, and by judging for ourselves. My husband and I are on the receiving end of plenty of questioning and criticism from our media and our fellow citizens. And it's not always easy, but we wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Because time and again, we have seen that countries are stronger and more prosperous when the voices of and opinions of all their citizens can be heard. And as my husband has said, we respect the uniqueness of other cultures and societies, but when it comes to expressing yourself freely and worshiping as you choose and having open access to information, we believe those universal rights, they are universal rights that are the birthright of every person on this planet.
You know, it's hard to know even where to begin to kind of dissect something like that, but Michelle Obama says, look, we invite criticism not only from the media, but from our fellow citizens. We wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. So Michelle Obama is saying to those that have criticisms about her husband's policies, bring it on. We're for that. We wouldn't trade that kind of give and take, that back and forth for the world. So Michelle Obama herself has just given license to conservative talk radio and conservative media to freely comment on her husband's policies and the effect of those policies. So we are happy to have Michelle's permission to do what the Constitution guarantees us the right to do anyway. You know, and she talks about the importance of having open access to information. You know, we're hearing from more and more media sources now about how this is the least transparent administration they've ever dealt with. It's the most secretive. It's the most Byzantine. It's the administration that's most interested in blocking access to information. When organizations make Freedom of Information Act requests, which requires the Obama administration by law to comply, they get stonewalled. That's freedom of information. Who doesn't want people to have it? The Obama administration will not release any information in response to these freedom of information requests. So Michelle's over there talking about the fact we got to have open access to information when her husband is the leading offender in clamping down on the free flow of information. And you'll notice that Michelle Obama, as her husband did, used the phrase worshiping as you choose. That's not what the Constitution guarantees. It guarantees the free exercise of religion. Now, let's grab soundbite number two, Rob, and then we'll take a couple of phone calls, 888-589-8840. This is Joe Biden, and he is recommending canonization for Barack Obama. Let's listen.
First thing you do, is let them know that there's no reason to be embarrassed that it's complicated. How many people you've spoken to? You can tell by the look on their face they're almost embarrassed to ask you the questions because they don't want to feel stupid. And I can hear somebody saying that's right. But you know it. And that's why they trust you. You dispel their fears. You put them at ease. and you walk them through the process. I know it's tedious. And to add to the difficulty, we didn't help you much at the front end here, man. I have my boss, my friend, Barack Obama, is an incredibly patient man. I suggested after going through the first couple weeks, I would nominate him for sainthood, that he kept his patience. But, it got off to a slow start. The president and I was as frustrated as anyone you ever knew, but it's basically fixed.
Basically fixed. So, this is kind of amazing to me because essentially what Joe Biden is doing is what we have here on the part of President Obama is colossal ineptitude. I'm talking specifically about the design and the implementation of Obamacare. This is colossal ineptitude. This is colossal incompetence. This is incompetence on a scale that we have never, ever seen before. Unless you think I'm being harsh, remember Michelle Obama says we welcome this kind of free flow of information. We welcome this kind of criticism. We wouldn't change it for the world. Now, and this is traced back to President Obama. This is his baby. It's called Obamacare. Nancy Pelosi now is getting nervous about that, trying to tell people to call it something else, call it the Affordable Care Act. But this has got his name all over it. And Joe Biden is complimenting Barack Obama for being patient with his own colossal ineptitude. In fact, he says he ought to be considered for sainthood because he is so patient with his own failings, with his own collapse of leadership. Kind of an amazing thing. Well, let's grab a couple of phone calls, 888-589-8840. Let's go to Susan King, Williams, Virginia. Susan, welcome. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm going to read an email that I just received. It's about the Constitutional Convention.
Uh-huh.
It's a Christian girlfriend of mine, and it was sent to a lot of other Christians. It says, think clearly about this. If they view themselves as elite from us, as they have proven with their separate medical and retirement programs, then why not other programs? This is what Mark Levine has been talking about, a constitutional convention by the states to get back the laws of the Constitution. This will take less than 30 seconds to read. If you agree, nothing to sign, just pass it on. This is an idea we should address. 35 states so far, and it's growing. One message to forward. Governors of 35 states have filed suit against the federal government for imposing unlawful burdens upon them. It takes only 38 of the 50 states to convene a constitutional convention. This will take less than 30 seconds to read. If you agree, please pass it on.
All right, Susan, listen, I appreciate that. And I know Mark Levin has written a book called The Liberty Amendments where he encourages this model of kind of rectifying our problems. And I like, I like what I've read about the Liberty Amendments. I like a lot of his suggestions. I think the problem that we've got is, amending our Constitution is all predicated on having people in Washington, D.C. who will follow the Constitution. Till we get that fixed, till we get a change in the Oval Office, it's useless. Focal Point AFR Talk.